Hello, we are the team number 4, and we are presenting our presentation of the learning evidence, where we are talking about an instant reading lecture called Blink. The team members are Sofía Aguilera Anaya, it's me, Elias Guerrero Montilla, Eloy Castillo Hernández, Bruno Ricardo Espinosa Tomés, Laure González Valencia, y Gianmarco Sosa Cienfuegos. So first we're going to talk about the questions that are before the lecture with the help of my friend Bruno Ricardo. We're going to explain.
Before reading this section, the first question asks us, when you are treated for an illness or injury, do you feel more comfortable if the medical doctor quickly determines what you're suffering from or if the doctor takes a long time? In your case, we determined that the best decision is not to take so much time, but take a long deliberating time enough to determine if some medicine is good for you, if the dose is good for you, for your age, for your height. So that's the case that we agree. Don't take so much time, but also with the knowledge as a doctor, take your time to recommend the medicine that we must take. And the second question said, some decisions are made quickly, some are more deliberate. Examine the items below and decide where a quick decision or long duration is better. Making a move in a game like chess. There are so many cases that the chess rules changes, but in this case, in a casual match, the moves in a game like chess are often quick. Choosing a movie to see it is not something important like a moving chess, so it should be a quick movement or decision. Deciding whether to trust a stranger. Well, it's kind of quick because you can leave the stranger in the street just waiting for your answer, but you should take your time to see the stranger and look for it and say, should I trust him or her? And deciding what to a clothing to buy. Well, if it fits you, it can be a quick decision. If not, can be a bit long deliberating. Choosing a college or university. In the process where you're learning, sometimes or most of the times are long deliberating decisions, so you must see for the options you have. Electing a leader of a club or organization. Normally in the smaller groups it's a quick decision, but in this case like a leader of a club or bigger organization, it is more long deliberating. Deciding to accept a job. It depends, but mostly it's long deliberating because they must ask you for the job, but it is not necessary that you want it. So you must to take a decision and say if you want it or not. And the last one, deciding whether someone is guilty of a crime, is very long deliberating. No matter the case, it doesn't have to be quick as decision. It has to be long deliberating because it's something that you are stating about a person and can affect it for a long term, on midterm, but also for a long term. That's it.
The next one presenting is Gianmarco.
Thank you. Vocabulary words used for the article. Diagnosis. The act of identifying the cause of an illness or other problem. Honage, a feeling or wish that something is true, not based on no facts. Spontaneous, describing something done studently without much thought or planning. The unconscious, a part the mind that we are not directly aware of. A hypothesis is an idea which is suggested as a possible explanation for a particular situation or condition, but which has not yet been proved to be correct. If you deduce something or deduce that something is true, you reach that conclusion because of the other things that you know to be true. When you respond to something that is done or said, you react to it by doing or saying something yourself. Adaptive means having the ability of or tendency to adapt to different situations.
The next one presenting is my friend Eulalia.
Okay, the type of article of the book is an excerpt from book, and the purpose of this excerpt is that the text explain how the knowledge and the rationalism in our brain works, show some examples of how the humans think for different situations, and also explain why all of this process happens. The example that show the book at the beginning is some example to a type of game card and show us how the people react and think about this game. Uh, and the purpose of this text principle is to teach us how and why all these types of situations occur and how to take advantage of them in our favor. Next.
The next one presenting is my friend Chris.
Reading skills. We need to learn to make inferences and deduce some things in a text. Three verbs to describe something our mind constantly does. We observe the facts and figure out other things that must be also true. Some inferences are true, and that's obvious, and there is no other conclusion. Examples of how to make inferences or deduce. All adult birds have feathers. A gadwall is a kind of bird, so gadwalls no doubt have feathers. Almost all species of bird can fly. Since a gadwall is a bird, it can probably fly. So we said probably because of the statistical chance that a gadwall is a flightless bird. Likewise, a generalization may describe something that is true in all cases, or it may indicate a statistical tendency.
Next, we're gonna present the resume that we made about the reading of Link. I'm gonna be presenting the first part, and let's take firstly about what is this article. It first starts talking about an experiment released by the scientists at the University of Iowa that they stated that within a game of cards about losing or winning points after turning over 50 cards, most of us have to start develop a hunch about what's going on. After about 80 cards, most of us have figured out the game and we can explain exactly why the two red decks are such a bad idea. That was how our learning skills started to operate. But these scientists did not do only this. They actually evaluated the responses of about the red decks of the people. By the 10th card, 40 cards were able to say that they had a hunch about what's going wrong with those two decks. But more importantly, right around the time their palms started sweating, their behavior started to change as well. Within this, they could conclude that our brain uses two types of strategies. One is to make sense of what we are most familiar with, which is the conscious strategy. We think about what we have learned, and eventually we come up with an answer based on our previous knowledge. And the second strategy is about thought. It operates more quickly than the first one, as it starts to operate below the surface of our consciousness by sending the messages to our set lines and in the palms of our hands, and redrawing conclusions without immediately telling us that our brain is researching for conclusions. The next part is going to be explained by my friend Eloy Castillo.
This sense is called the adapter to unconscious. The study of this kind of decision making is one of the most important in our brains as it deals with many data at the same time in order for us to keep functioning as human beings. The psychologist Timothy D. Wilson, in his book Strangers to Ourselves, says that we toggle back and forth between our conscious and unconscious modes of thinking, depending on the situation. A decision to invite a coworker, that's the power of our adaptive unconscious. There is an innately suspicious of this kind of rapid cognition. We assume that the quality of a decision is directly related to the time and effort that went into making it. We believe that we're always gathering as much information as possible and spending as much time possible in deliberation. We really only trust conscious decision making, but there are moments, particularly in time of stress, when haste does not make pleasant. When our snap judgments and first impressions can offer much a better means of making sense in the world. Decisions made very quickly can be every bit as good as decisions made casually and deliberately.
And within this, we conclude our presentation. Thank you for listening us.